Here's a mental shortcut almost everyone makes without realizing it. You see a wealthy person, a footballer, a musician, an actor, a tech owner, and your brain files them all into the exact same category, rich, as if a Premier League striker, a pop star, a Hollywood actor, and a business owner all got their money the same way, spend it the same way, and are one bad year away from losing it in the same way. They're not. And this one mental shortcut might be quietly costing you real financial understanding because it collapses four completely different economic realities into a single, mostly useless label. I'm David, and this is Dollar Horizon, where we break down the actual mechanics behind wealth instead of the vague headline version. If you've ever lumped every rich person into one mental bucket, this video is going to change how you see wealth completely. Hit subscribe if this reframes anything for you. Most people think of wealth as a single spectrum. Poor on one end, rich on the other, and everyone above a certain line gets treated as basically the same. But wealth isn't just an amount, it's a structure. How the money was earned, how stable it is, and how long it's expected to last are completely different depending on the category of rich you're actually looking at. Lumping them together isn't just imprecise, it actively hides the real lessons each category could teach you. Here's the core issue. Income and wealth are not the same thing, and different types of rich people sit at wildly different points on that distinction. A professional athlete might earn millions a year during a career that typically lasts less than a decade, with a hard, often unpredictable expiration date. A musician might have one breakout year generating enormous income, followed by years of far less, depending entirely on royalties, touring, and whether the public's taste moves on. An actor's income is famously inconsistent. A single blockbuster can generate a windfall, but the gaps between big paychecks can stretch for years. A business owner, by contrast, often builds wealth slowly through ownership and equity that can, if managed well, keep generating income indefinitely, long after the owner stops actively working. These aren't just different jobs, they're fundamentally different risk profiles wearing the exact same label. Here's where this gets concrete. Studies on professional athletes have found that a striking percentage, some research puts it as high as 60% of NBA players and nearly 78% of NFL players, face significant financial distress within a few years of retirement. Not because they didn't earn enough. Many earned tens of millions, but because that income arrived in a short, front-loaded window, often before the financial maturity or infrastructure to manage it long-term, with no guaranteed second act once the career ends. Compare that to a business owner generating a comparatively modest $200,000 a year in profit from a company they own outright. That income isn't tied to a physical peak performance window. It doesn't disappear because of an injury or an aging voice. If the business is systemized well enough, it can continue generating income with minimal ongoing involvement, and the equity in the business itself is a sellable asset worth potentially millions on its own. Same general label, rich, completely different financial architecture underneath it. This is why you'll see wildly different outcomes among people who all appeared equally rich at their peak. Some athletes and musicians turn their peak earning years into lasting wealth by aggressively converting active income into passive, ownership-based assets. Real estate, business equity, royalty streams they control. Others treat their peak years as a permanent state rather than a temporary window, spend according to that year's income instead of a lifetime average, and find themselves in serious financial trouble once the checks stop or shrink. The people who navigate this well aren't necessarily smarter. They understood something crucial. Their type of rich had an expiration date attached, and business owners or investors' type of rich generally doesn't, unless they mismanage it. Here's what actually matters if you're trying to learn from wealthy people instead of just admiring or resenting them from a distance. Ask what category of rich they actually are before assuming their financial playbook applies to you or is even sustainable for them. An athlete's advice about high risk, high reward decision making during a short career window is very different from a business owner's advice about patient, compounding ownership. Treating all of it as interchangeable rich person wisdom means you're often applying the wrong lessons to your own completely different financial situation. This isn't about looking down on any of these paths or assuming athletes and entertainers are automatically bad with money. Plenty aren't, and plenty build genuinely lasting wealth. It's also not a suggestion that business ownership is automatically safer. Plenty of businesses fail entirely. The point isn't ranking these paths, it's recognizing they operate under completely different rules. So the strategies, risks, and timelines that apply to one rarely map cleanly onto another. So, the next time you see a footballer, a musician, an actor, and a business owner all labeled simply as rich, remember that label is hiding almost everything that actually matters. One of them might be in the final years of a short, ticking clock. Another might have built something that pays them whether they show up to work tomorrow or not. Same word, completely different financial reality. Understanding that difference isn't just interesting trivia, it's the difference between learning something useful from wealthy people and completely misreading what actually made them wealthy in the first place.